Soldier coming at you from Austin, Texas. 4:30 a.m. here, and I'm wide awake. Some mornings I just get up early. And actually, to be honest, I really like my morning quiet time. I do. I like it when no one's up. My son's here and he's still sleeping. It's quiet outside. It's dark. There's a stillness in the morning that I really appreciate. And it's my time to reflect, pray, and do my things for myself in the morning and get my day ready. So this is my quiet time. I'm sharing it with you. And I actually had some reflections on what happened yesterday. So yesterday I had my first Mission Carnivore interview with my mate, George Goodenough. And I can tell you, quite honestly, it was pretty amazing. And one of the most amazing things is, yes, we're both veterans. We have similar backgrounds. We both played rugby. You know, we both like John Wayne. There's, like he says, a lot of stuff. We're like brothers from another mother across the pond. But even more than that, I think, you know, we just fell into a very easy and casual conversation immediately, like we were picking up where we had left off. And I think that does reflect being veterans, but also it reflects being part of the carnivore community. And when I talk about a brotherhood, he talks about a community because, you know, he wants to always say the sisterhood too, which I agree. I mean, it is, I just use brotherhood as a general term for mankind, not for men and women, not to separate. I agree. It's the guys and the gals that are in this together. You know, we are in this fight together, and we have a lot in common. And that's what's great about this community. I've been parts of other communities online before, and never have I found one that was quite this inclusive and opening and welcoming and supportive, edge to edge, all the way around. So this is really, I think, a special time and place. And I hope to create the Carnivore Soldier community to be the same. I really want it to be an inclusive place, not a place where we have dogma. You know, people get very defensive over three things I've realized now. I used to think two, and there's two things I never brought up when dating: politics and religion. Well, now I can add diet to that. You know, unless you know the person is like a carnivore, then you can bring it up. But people are very dogmatic about those three things: their politics, their religion, and their diet. They hold them closely, right? So this is something new to me, adding to that list. But now that I have it, you know, I understand it. But I think that we need to have inclusiveness. Like George, he said he's not a perfect carnivore. I'm not either. In fact, look what I have here. Uh-oh, it's coffee. I'm going to drink some. Am I going to die tomorrow? I don't think so. A little more bitter than I remember it. I thought I'd just reintroduce it because this is over 180 days now. And I'm not sure if I like it as much as I did, but I thought I'd try it again. You know, now I'm not going to ever introduce sugar or anything because I know I'm an addict there. Coffee, I'm not an addict. Coffee is just something I did. And when I got off it, I didn't have the headaches and the withdrawals when I stopped doing it. I just stopped doing it. So, and I know Dr. Anthony Chaffee talks about coffee making him feel his aches and pains. I'm just curious if it's going to do it for me. So I'm going to go on a ruck later today. Maybe I'll make a video there too. Get my 40-pound pack. I'll drop my son off at school. I'll be by the trail, and I'll probably hit the trail in the morning for the sunrise. So anyway, this is the way I start my morning. I like to think about things, and this time I thought I'd just share some of the thoughts with you. But again, yesterday was an amazing video. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. George Goodenough, hell of a guy, former intel guy with the Desert Rats, which is a really famous World War II unit. Well, I don't know if they might have been from before World War II, but I know in World War II they were very famous, and they did a lot over there during Desert Storm as well. And George will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure if that unit actually originated from Lawrence of Arabia when he started. He's a British guy from World War I that started some desert insurgencies with the Arabs. So anyway, I'm not sure about the history. I'm going to check that out. I'm a big military history fan. I'm a big history fan. Anyway, so I'm rambling. Sorry. I just want to say good morning to y'all. It's a great week. It's a great week to be a carnivore. And it's a great week to be part of this community. So, you know, all I got to say is you got to make this week your week where you're going to actually do this diet and you're going to change your life. Because this is like the one diet I've ever done that actually worked. Because every other one worked for a few weeks or a few months and I was able to succeed for a while. But every other one I fell off, and, you know, I blame myself because, well, the diet works if you do it, but they were always like really hard to do. They were always, I found, almost impossible to sustain. This is very sustainable, very easy once you get past the first 4 weeks. I see people posting things like, well, I'm bored with food, and they've only been out 2 weeks. Listen, you have to let your body adjust. You can't just do anything for 2 weeks and have it become totally easy and normal, right? You're going to have to hone your craft. You're going to have to learn your hunger signals. You're going to have to get rid of your addictions, and your cravings are going to have to go. If you keep feeding your cravings, it's going to always be hard, right? And that's why we say this is the best practice. I mean, the dogma is there. People are like, well, carnivore is only this and it's only that. Well, okay, that is true. Like if you're talking about carnivore, like a lion only eats meat. They don't go out and eat sweet potatoes and sweeteners, right? So, but what we can do is we can say, well, every person is a little different. Your experience is a little different. Your path to this is a little different. And what we can say is carnivore does have best practices, right? Now, whether you follow all the best practices, that's up to you. So the best practices we can lay out are remove all sweeteners, artificial and normal. Even if you're a moderator, that's just best practice. I mean, that's going to give you the best results. And I don't think anyone would argue that you will get the best results on carnivore if you go like a lion diet. If you restrict everything like Michaela Peterson did and Jordan Peterson, that is a best practice, right? Can't argue that. So I think if we couch our comments to people on YouTube and on Facebook groups, instead of saying, well, that's not carnivore, you're not doing it right, of course you're having problems. If you do it, instead of doing it like that, say, hey, listen, it's up to you, but the best practice is, and we just give them the best practice. And I think we just couch it like that. It makes a lot more sense. It's not offensive. You don't come off as like some holy roller on a dogma kick like a lot of people do. And it's a lot more inclusive. And, whether someone does it or not, that's their life. You can't force someone to be carnivore. You can't force them to do carnivore your way either, which is, George eats things that aren't, in things that I eat, but it works for him. He's reverse type 2 diabetes. How do you go to someone who's reverse type 2 diabetes and lost all this weight and say you're doing it wrong? No, I can't do that, because he's doing it right for his body, and everybody can withstand a little more of some things than others. He drinks probably a little more than I do. I do drink when I go out with my military buddies. I don't drink at home anymore too much. I have alcohol here, but I just choose not to because I don't need to. And actually drinking is more of a social thing for me. So I find no need to drink at home. So I just don't, unless I have a friend come over. Now, if I have a buddy come over, we might have a drink, right? Or go on a date. I might have a drink on a date. I might not. It just depends on the date. So I think that we just need to get off the dogma kick and kind of realize that if you find something that works for you, great. If it is a best practice, promote a best practice, right? Especially if it's working in your life. I think that's just the way we need to roll forward to make this, a more inclusive. We want the tent to get bigger, right? We want more people to come in, because some people may start at 80% carnivore, ketovore, or maybe that's where they're fit and that's where they want to be. They like some onions. Like I think George says he likes onions. That's fine. You like some of that? That's good. I've actually introduced a couple things into my diet. Roasted garlic powder. I bought some and I used it once, just thinking, well, I used to like this stuff. And I put it on some ribs that I smoked in the smoker, Texas style. And they were fine, but I don't know that I'm going to do them without it next time and see if I even notice. Cause I don't think I didn't really taste that and go, oh yeah, I can taste that smoked garlic powder in there. Yeah. So I think salt's probably just fine, but I'm going to do it without next time because the smoke flavor is so good. That's really the thing. So I think we just need to get off the dogma kick, talk about best practices, right? And this is going to give you the best results, no doubt. No doubt. If you remove vegetables, you will have better results than if you don't. If you remove sweeteners, you will definitely have better results than if you don't. If you have cravings, it's probably because you have sweeteners in your, that kind of stuff. Those are just best practices. And I think we just make it that way. I've posted a lot of posts like that on different groups when I'm in. No one's ever been offended when I say, yeah, the best practice is this, but everyone does their own thing. And if you want best results, this is recommended. And that's, if you put it that way, no one gets offended. Everyone thinks, okay, cool. And then the other thing is, on the other side of the coin, I see people getting offended. Like, oh, I can't believe you're so mean. Why are you part of this group It's a beginner's group. Listen, beginners still need to know the facts, and they need to know the best practices. So when a beginner comes on and says, can I have salad with blue cheese dressing? Then we have to tell them, well, that's not really carnivore, it's more ketovore. Yes, you can if you're ketovore, but make sure the dressing doesn't have seed oils or something like that, right? You can put blue cheese crumbles on it and buttermilk or something, right? You can give them education, answer their question respectfully, and not be a dogmatic inquisitor, right? We don't need the Inquisition, right? We don't need the carnivore Inquisition here. And I think we can just answer questions. We can talk about best practices. We can point to the doctors, especially with medical stuff. We don't want to give medical information because we're not doctors, but a lot of the doctors are, and they do give excellent information. Dr. Barry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Kiltz, Dr. Chafee. These guys are super resources, and so thankful for YouTube for being here, for us to be able to connect, and also for those doctors being there when I was growing up, we didn't have just instant doctors' opinions on things that we could just look up at our fingertips. It is amazing. For all the negatives the internet brings, which I don't like a lot of it, because I used to like having downtime, real downtime on weekends when no one could get a hold of you, when you had no cell phone, you had no pager. Before any of that, when your weekends were yours, they were yours, man. But for all that downside that you get, there's so much upside with the access to information we have. It's actually information overload, but we do have huge amounts of information available. So anyway, this is my quiet time. Just wanted to share some thoughts about my interview. Hey, check out Mission Carnivore. This is just a little pitch here. Mission Carnivore is a veteran and first responder focused interview series with carnivores, because the veteran community and the first responder community suffer from a lot of mental illness, healthcare issues because of the crisis that we face, basically because we're always in fight or flight mode, or, we're separated, we're isolated. There's a lot of things that we go through that normal people in a workplace won't go through. And it causes a lot of healthcare issues, mental healthcare issues, especially. And there's not really a lot of recognition. There's some recognition, there's not a lot of treatment options therefore, right? So we know that 22 veterans a day in the United States is the number everyone knows take their lives, right? And this is just a healthcare crisis out of control. And the only thing they have to offer is antidepressant drugs, all these different antipsychotic drugs, all these drugs that the VA offers, and I'm sure civilians do too. And all I got to say is that stuff all pales in comparison to a healthy diet and what it can do to your brain. Because I know from my brain, and I've talked to other veterans and their brains and other first responders, that it's night and day. It is a huge difference. So check out Mission Carnivore. That's what I'm trying to shed the light on the benefits of this. And if you know any veterans or first responders, even if they seem totally fine, especially if they seem totally fine, point them in this direction. Tell them to look at Mission Carnivore. They'll hear some good stories. They'll meet other veterans who are succeeding and who are really overcoming physical and mental health issues through diet and getting off prescription drugs. So anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to say good morning. It's a wonderful Monday morning, 04:30, or I like to say in the Army, 0 dark 30, and stay strong and overcome. Carnivore Soldier, out.